Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again, where we talk all things health and healing from a holistic perspective. And today will be no different. Today, I'm going to give you 10 ways you can beat your sweet tooth, your sugar cravings, and your sugar addiction. And I'm going to give you a 10-day challenge to do it. Okay. So the things that I'm going to give you, you do these over the course of 10 days, we're going to see a huge impact and how your taste buds are craving. All right. Cravings are not the issue, it's what you crave for. And when you think about sugar and the amount of sugar that we're craving today, on average, the average American is craving 152 pounds of sugar every year. Now, when you think about sugar, you think diabetes, okay? But diabetes isn't the only issue around sugar consumption, all right? When you think sugar consumption at a tune of 152 pounds every year, sugar is not only correlated with diabetes, but it's also associated with hypertension. It's also associated with immune system suppression as well too. So it can literally paralyze your immune system. It's also associated with obesity. It's associated with a fatty liver. It's associated with tooth decay and bone, degradation and gum disease. It's also associated with an unhealthy gut as well too. And it's also associated with skin issues. So if you're having skin issues, joint pain, muscle pain, fatigue, overeating, all of these things are correlated to your sugar consumption. And here's the kicker. Of that 152 pounds of sugar that the average American is consuming every year, you don't need any of it. Zero nutritionally. Absolutely zero. All right. And the sugar that I'm talking about is not the sugar that is inside of a plant. I'm talking about the sugar that they pull out of the plant. Okay. 70% of the standard American diet is processed food. The vast majority of that processed food is loaded with sugar, and they're increasing it bit by bit. And they do that because they understand the more you consume, the more you're addicted. They don't want you to be addicted to sugar. They want you to be addicted to their products. Okay. And that's why they're steadily increasing it every year. Okay. And so we got to wake up and we got to do better. And so the things that I'm going to be sharing with you today is going to help you break that chain. Okay. Get those shackles off of you. And so you'll start to crave healthier foods. All right. Now that's important, but you also got to be able to recognize the signs of addiction. Now I've talked about this in another video, but typically the signs are the cravings, especially at night. Okay. All right. If you get sugar cravings, especially at night, that's a sign that there's addiction there. Also, withdrawal symptoms. Withdrawal symptoms include things like anxiety, depression, okay, nausea, vomiting, shaking, okay, or feeling jittery. All right. Talk about not only poor skin, okay, as a sign of addiction, okay, but also fatigue as well too. All right. But a lot of these signs and symptoms, you like nausea, vomiting, headaches, fatigue, all of these things sound like typical addiction. Like if you were trying to stop smoking cigarettes or drinking coffee or getting off on an illicit drug, all right, you will have the same signs and symptoms. Now, the reason why I got to bring that up before we jump into the 10 ways you can break this addiction is because when you start to do these things and you stop eating sugar, it is very typical for you to go through a lot of these withdrawal symptoms. And when you go through them, it's just important for you to know and understand that is part of the process. You just got to get through the difficult part. But understand that no greatness is achieved without discomfort. All right. Hugely important. All right. So without any further ado, let's get into these 10 ways that you can get over your sweet tooth, your sugar addiction, and all the cravings that come along with it. Number one thing you need to do first is identify and eliminate any and all temptations. All right. That's important for any addiction that you're trying to get over, whether it's you being addicted to sugar or you being addicted to toxic people or toxic conversations or whatever it may be. You have to identify what those temptations are and you have to eliminate what they are. Okay. In the case of sugar, if you are looking at where the temptation starts, it starts first with what you buy. It starts before that with what you have already purchased. So you need to go in your cabinets, your refrigerator, your freezer, look for all of the things that you've been consuming that have been keeping you addicted and eliminate them. Get you a trash bag, put them in the trash bag, because for 10 days, none of that type of sugar, all right? So identify and eliminate all temptations, all right? This is a step you cannot cross over. Most of you are going to want to say to yourself, well, I already paid my good money for this, okay? If you pay good money for something that is taking away your health, it wasn't a good buy, all right? And then some of you are gonna say, well, when this 10 days is over, I wanna eat this, all right? Okay, so you're getting yourself right back into the cycle, all right? So this is why I'm saying you have to identify and eliminate, hugely important. Number 2, eat fermented foods. Fermented foods like kimchi, sauerkraut. The reason why that's important is because it's gonna feed the probiotics or the good bacteria in your gut, okay? The more they grow and the stronger the good bacteria in your gut becomes, the cravings for healthier foods will become louder over the cravings for unhealthy foods, okay? Because the more your good bacteria grows, it will start to kick out those bad bacteria that we'll talk about in a second that's actually causing you to have those bad cravings, all right? Number 3, manage stress. All right. Now, I know you always hear me say this, but just important to understand that as you are sort of in a chronic stressful state, cortisol levels go up. The more your cortisol levels go up, the more you'll have fluctuations in your blood glucose or your blood sugar. All right. The more they fluctuate, meaning spike and then drop, that's when you're going to have the cravings. Okay. So you want to manage your stress properly. Number 4, bitters, okay? That's the taste bud no one likes to use. Everybody likes salty, creamy, sugary, etc. All right? But nobody likes that bitter taste bud in the back of the room. Everybody wants to avoid that one, okay? But that is the one that is not only going to make you healthier, but that is also the one that's going to curb the sugar cravings as well, too. Hugely important. So incorporating bitter herbs, incorporating bitter, teas, incorporating bitter green leafy vegetables like dandelion leaf, okay? Those things are gonna be very helpful as well too, all right? Number 5, find healthy replacements, all right? Find your healthy replacements. My examples for my healthy replacements when, people will say like, well, what do you eat for sweets? Fruits, that's a whole rainbow, all right? And of course, you guys know I own a fruit company. So, of course, tropical fruit, number 1. Number 2, smoothies. All right. So that's my replacement as well, too. And then 3, dates. Okay. All right. Dates are perfect. Like if you just want a little quick something, dates are perfect. All right. And then the 4th thing is I make my own ice cream out of bananas typically, but you can make your own ice cream out of fruit. Okay, so I make my own ice cream. That's another way that I could get, my sort of taste of sweet as well too, in a very healthy way. All right, but it's 100% natural fruit, maybe a little bit of coconut milk, but that's it. All right, maybe I add some dates, but as you can see, all whole things. All right, hugely important. But you got to find replacements, because when you do get the cravings, you can still give yourself something sweet. But in the case of a date, you don't have to worry about feeding the wrong thing. Because if you feed the wrong thing, if you feed the things that make the cravings grow louder, you got more of a problem. All right. Number 6, you got to cut out breads, white flour. You got to cut them out because they turn into sugar in our bodies. Okay. The same way French fries will turn into sugar in our bodies. Okay, so most processed foods are littered with sugar. So you got to get rid of processed foods. So you got to cut out the white flour. You got to cut out the breads. You got to cut out the processed foods. Okay, I'm giving you a 10-day challenge, just 10 days. All right, cut it out for 10 days. Let's see what happens. All right, number 7, don't drink your sugar. All right, people forget about that sugar, the sugar that's inside of the drink that you're drinking. But that's liquid sugar. It's even worse than all of the other sugars, okay? Because it's already liquefied. It goes directly into the blood, directly to the liver. All right, so don't drink any sugar. The only sweet thing I would recommend is natural, fresh coconut water. All right, so if you want something different, of course, you can do a green juice, you could do a tea, but if you want something sweet, for me, coconut water is sweet. Not everybody likes coconut water. I can live on coconut water, okay? But don't drink your sugar, all right? Number 8, quality sleep. You got to get quality sleep if you want to get over cravings. The reason why that's important is because several studies have shown when you get less than 8 hours of sleep, it's shown to increase hunger hormones. All right. Now, the reason why that's important is because the more hunger hormones you have, and then you also have the cravings, they're just going to be extremely loud. All right. So getting quality sleep is very important too, to keep those hormones balanced. All right. When we're talking about hunger versus, cessation, or like you feeling satiated. Okay. So quality sleep is going to help in that journey too. So the next 10 days, 8 hours of sleep. All right. So no staying up on the phone, on Tinder, or whatever, Bumblebee, or whatever it may be, or, strolling through, or YouTube, or whatever. Get off YouTube when it's time to get off YouTube. All right. Number 9, get rid of parasites. All right. Parasites are controlling your taste buds. The same way when we see them in like movies like the aliens, and the parasite gets inside of the human and takes control of them, well, they do the same thing inside of us as well too. All right, so it's going to be hugely important to get rid of parasites. And number 10, the last one, and these two kind of go together, but I made them separate, is you got to get rid of yeast. You got to get rid of yeast. And the reason why that's so important is because fermentation is carried out by yeast, okay? And it does that by acting on sugar, which means that if you already got yeast in your body and then you put sugar in it, all you're doing is feeding, first of all, you're feeding the yeast, which means you're feeding fermentation, okay? And the more you feed fermentation process creates alcohol in the body and CO2. All right, so this is why people can eat a whole bunch of sugar and then all of a sudden they feel drunk, like they want to pass out. All right, so it's just hugely important to get rid of the yeast, to get rid of the parasites. And of course, one of the ways you can do that is with my detox, because there's a parasite candida cleanse in there to get rid of these critters. But it's also important not to feed them. And one of the primary ways you feed them is with junk food and sugar. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful. Make sure you share this with, I know so many people who struggle with sugar addiction. So I know that you know the same people. All right, so make sure you get this out there. 10-day challenge. Don't do the challenge by yourself. Find a buddy to do the challenge. All the things that I just mentioned, the last 10 things that I mentioned, for the next 10 days. And I want you to come back in here, go in the comments, and tell me the impact of what you feel after those 10 days, all right? That'll be a really cool challenge to have. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you're loving the content. That tells me that this is the kind of content you want me to continue to produce. And until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed.